Time is the beginning of the Dueling City Tournament, unexpectedly crossing into the world of GameKing's YouZero. Originally planned to rely on advanced decks to give local duelers a small super mainstream shock, becoming the Dueling King and reaching the pinnacle of life. However, the reality slightly deviated from his expectations. Mudo game. Up. I launch a magic card called True Red Eyes Fusion from my hand. Merge the Black Magician and True Red Eyes Black Dragon in the deck and appear. The Bond of Friendship. Super Magic Dragon Knight. Hyamos Man, upright arrow downright arrow. YouZero, you are a third-rate dueler using a second-rate deck. It seems that if you don't swing the whip of complete defeat, you won't understand the fact that you cannot win. Ritual Call, come down. Blue-eyed Chaos Extreme Dragon YouZero. Since you're all doing this, then I don't plan on pretending to be a good person anymore. Liberate the Trisolarans monster summoned by the Superior, come down. Kami. The Wind-Traveling Bird, Time Sky Dragon. This book is also known as OCG Card. Guys don't die from fishing, 3 or 2 things I and sister card elves have to say, so strong. It's too strong. In order to become the Dueling King, I joined the villainous organization, playing card game, the protagonist won't lose, animation plus OCG fusion worldview, including theater version of the parallel world setting of the dark side of the dimension, keywords. GameKing, playing cards, dueling, cards, OCG, tearful lament clan, tearful concubine, noble power, this card has a destiny with me. Keywords of the novel. GameKing starting from Dueling City. No pop-ups. GameKing starting from Dueling City. Complete collection. Download TXT. GameKing starting from Dueling City. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. People in a different realm, just crossed through. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. People in a different realm, just crossed through. The moonlight is like water, and the night is like ink. Standing on the brightly lit and crowded streets of the city, YouZero's eyes were filled with a sense of confusion in an unfamiliar environment. It seems that I have traveled through time. I remember just now in GameKing MD, I was playing the ruthless top scorer and playing the quality behavior of coming and going with the old shady guys. How could it be that in the blink of an eye, Tomono City appeared in GameKing? Scratching his head in confusion, observing the surrounding scenery, YouZero slowly made a question mark. The current situation is mercilessly presented to YouZero. For some reason, he seemed to have crossed the streets of Tomono City in the world of GameKing. With slightly blurry eyes wide open and murmuring to himself, YouZero's consciousness gradually regained consciousness from confusion. From the occasional sound of city radio in his ears, he learned that this was a strange city called Tomono City, which did not exist on the original world map. The dazzling neon lights hanging on the high-rise buildings dyed the entire street into daylight. When they flickered, it was almost like light pollution, almost blinding YouZero's eyes, and most of the people who come and go on the streets are teenagers and girls with eerie highlights and strange machines on their arms. Their faces were all filled with hopeful and excited smiles. Just like the wealthy men pacing back and forth at the entrance of the manga exhibition, these young girls seemed to be wandering around eagerly anticipating the start of a long-publicized large-scale event. What these people are wearing on their arms? Can it be a duel tray? As a seasoned card player who often plays the game of King card, YouZero has an inexplicable sense of familiarity with the machines worn on the arms of those young girls. Before his time traveling, although he had not personally experienced the black technology unique to the world of GameKings, the ability to transform cards into physical images and project them, he also witnessed the wonders of the duel board more than once in the animation. For its appearance, YouZero naturally won't admit it wrong. Undoubtedly, although the appearance is somewhat rudimentary, it is precisely the latest type of duel tool with portable and mobile characteristics created by the president of the Seahorse Entertainment Group, Seahorse Setman, based on the large duel device created by the father of duel monsters, Bekas J. Croverdo, first-generation portable duel tray. As long as you wear this duel tray, the holder can engage in intense duels with your opponent in any situation, anytime, anywhere. And those young girls who wear dual plates, have cool hairstyles, and use cards to fight against each other are called duelers, enjoying a noble status beyond ordinary people in this world. A city with dazzling lights, a crowd with highlights and cool hairstyles, and almost everyone has a duel board. The strange scene before us reminds YouZero that he has arrived in a brand new world that is completely different from the past, full of duels, and revered for playing cards. GameKing MD, full name, GameKing. Master Duel. It is an online card-based online battle game adapted from the GameKing anime series, which adopts different OCG/TCG master rules from the past and includes tens of thousands of cards. In this globally popular card game, players can not only engage in long-distance online battles across thousands of miles through the game platform, but also play the storyline of card characters in single-player mode, experiencing original storylines of characters in the card series such as DT Puzzle Star, Star Relics, Imprint Dead Prison Village, and Worldly Evil. And after years of development, this game, which has evolved with technology, has also gained higher degrees of freedom. In the latest beta server, a new storyline mode game operator has been launched, and even a promotional slogan has been displayed that allows players to achieve an immersive next-generation card-playing experience in the game. According to the promotional slogan, in this beta server, players who use VR infiltration devices to enter the game can not only explore familiar locations in the original game of GameKing, trigger various encounter events, find and discover hidden rare cards, and receive extraordinary rewards. You can even personally participate in the plot of the original work, meet members of the protagonist group, experience the main or side storyline with them, defeat evil villainous organizations and terrifying card hunters, experience the dark game of risking your life, and ultimately achieve the magnificent feat of playing cards to save the world. Just listening to the promotional content, this game has undoubtedly reached the limit of current technology. However, although the promotion said so, in reality, when you truly entered the game, YouZero still discovered the moisture contained in the promotional slogan. For example, in the early version of the experience server, the only areas that could be explored were some streets in Tomono City, rather than the various scenes in the original work. Interaction is just a matter of triggering conversations with paper characters, similar to some text adventure games, and cannot be fully engaged in dialogue. And the so-called experience of the original plot is just to watch the protagonist team go through the plot on the side, fight against the villains, and finally let the player replace the protagonist to match and duel with the computer AI that jumps out. Everything is a pre-set program, with just a few tricks going back and forth. There is no such thing as freedom. Therefore, after experiencing it for a while, the uninteresting GameZero ultimately withdrew from the first server and returned to its original ladder of players. However, what he didn't expect was that soon after, he inexplicably traveled to Tomono City in the world of GameKing. To be honest, when you truly understand the current situation, YouZero feels bewildered. What kind of world is GameKing world? It's a magical world where playing cards is supreme. What to do when encountering unsolvable problems or engaging in intense disputes? Solve by playing cards. What determines the future succession of the large multinational corporation Haima Entertainment Group? Decide by the outcome of a duel. Even the old monsters who have been dormant for tens of thousands of years, have been fully prepared, and can easily move around with their hands raised, and are about to destroy the sky and earth, still have to honestly pull out a duel tray to engage in a duel in front of the main characters. Once you lose, you will have to face the tragic outcome of a dead end. This is the truth of this world where playing cards is paramount. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 begins with the selection of initial decks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 begins with the selection of initial decks. The top card players who thrive in the world of GameKings have some unique skills that are more or less unique to themselves. For example, a crayfish-headed teenager who often shouts "Oh Bara," and says, "The strongest duel fighter is inevitable," even the draw card itself can be created by the duel fighter, can transform on the spot in times of crisis, follow the golden light to print the card on the spot, rely on a move of flash draw card to turn the attack, and turn the opponent who originally had an absolute advantage into friction underground. For example, a certain incurable late-stage dragon cancer patient can shout, "It's not a monster, it's Kamida," while taking a divine card from the floor under their feet and flipping it against the wind, shocking their opponents for a whole year. For example, a 6-year-old born in the dark would occasionally perform his beauty skills while playing cards, and mercilessly turn his opponent's monsters into a golden-winged god egg. In such a world, facing such an unreasonable dueler can be said to be a very terrifying thing. In the current situation, the only thing that makes YouZero happy is that the system panel of GameKing MD has also traveled to this world with him. In Dueling's heart, he silently recited the moment of calling for the panel. A transparent panel that only Dueling could see, displaying various character attributes, also appeared before his eyes with a faint light. Name: Dueling level. LV5 dual binding points. 0. Currently, there are no spirits bound to you. Combat power. 5. At the level of an ordinary person, lucky value. 10. Can trigger events that ordinary people cannot trigger, and unfounded bad luck always slows you down one step, charm value. 9. Increases the favorability of strangers, endurance value. 5. At the level of the average person, diamond. 0. Can be used to purchase card packs, completing tasks can earn money. 0. Can be used for consumption, can be obtained by completing tasks. There is nothing to say about the name column. The initial level of LV5 dueling is derived from the rules of the Dueling City competition organized by Haima Entertainment Group, and is the starting event in the plot mode. In the rules of this duel competition, only duels with LV5 and above are eligible to obtain a duel plate and participate in the competition that turns the entire city into a duel venue. If your level does not reach LV5, you may not even be able to claim the duel tray that is free to the duels, let alone participate in this duel competition. Except for level, there is a parenthesis after each other attribute to roughly indicate the meaning represented by the current value. Due to the fact that YouZero has not engaged in any duels since crossing over, his attributes have always been in the initial state. Ding, the task has been released. Just as Dueling was about to retract the system panel, a prompt suddenly popped up, indicating that Dueling had received the first task assigned to him by the system. Initial task, 1/3. Obtain a duel plate, reward 100,000 yen. Obtaining a duel tray is not a difficult task. As a dueler of LV5, YouZero can receive a brand new duel plate for free at any card store in Tomono City with your current identity. After seeing the task prompt, YouZero shrugged his shoulders and casually walked into a card shop on the street, even as he transformed into a ruthless task machine, holding his head high and walking leisurely. The initial task for beginners is to highlight a free and friendly one. After revealing his identity to the owner of the card store, YouZero had no obstacles and obtained a brand new duel board that belonged to him. Just as he put the duel tray on his arm and walked out of the card shop, accompanied by the sound of completing the task, the reward for the task, 10,000 yen banknotes, also appeared in his pocket at the same time. Well, it's not bad in this way, you have the initial funds to maintain basic living. Feeling the automatically bulging purse, Dueling's face also slightly relaxed at this moment. Nowadays, Dueling is a person who truly lives in Tomono City. They need to eat, drink, and make a living, and they need money to maintain the minimum living expenses. According to the exchange rate, although 100,000 yen is not a huge sum of money, it is enough for YouZero to make a living and not fall into the streets, living as a street friend with the sky as the bed and the ground as the quilt. Now that we have the duel deck, then next should be the deck, right? Thinking of YouZero here, I once again opened the system panel. As expected, after completing the first initial task, the new task was immediately refreshed. Since we have a duel deck, how can we not have a matching deck? It seems that I guessed the idea of YouZero, and the system also released new tasks accordingly. To be precise, it directly displays a completed task. Initial task, February 3rd. Obtain a set of decks. Ding, the built.in card module in the system has been activated. The initial task is automatically completed, and the reward of 100 diamonds has been received. Dueling players are requested to choose a set of cards from the following decks as their initial deck to use. Friendly reminder. The opportunity to choose is limited to this time only. If missed, wait for another year. Next, a list of optional decks will be displayed. True Dragon. A fantasy dragon clan deck primarily summoned by superiors, with extremely strong suppression power. Ace monsters have multiple resistances. True Dragon Sword Emperor. Shua Huixing. Puzzle, Sword Fighting Beast. A fusion beast warrior card deck, characterized by the ability to summon new monsters from the deck after a battle, with balanced attributes in all aspects. Fossil. A rock clan deck centered around the magic card, Fossil Fusion, characterized by the ability to use monsters from both sides' graveyards as materials to summon high-star monsters with resistance from additional decks. Wind Traveling Bird. A bird and beast clan card deck that focuses on summoning higher-level players. Although it does not have impressive attributes, it has a high level of flexibility that is different from other card decks. Hero. A warrior card deck with fusion as the main axis, which can unleash extraordinary powerful power in the hands of specific people. It is not recommended for people with dark faces to use. Dragon Maid. A fusion axis deck consisting of lower-level humanoid maids and higher-level dragon maid avatars, with the largest number of female dual elves currently available, making it the best choice for certain specific groups. Emperor. Warrior card decks primarily summoned by superiors. A series of warning sounds echoed in YouZero's ear, causing him to instinctively place his gaze on the system panel. New book for newcomers. Seeking collection. Recommended. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Is not worth mentioning in the face of intensity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 is not worth mentioning in the face of intensity. Damn it. With the wind, a bird of passage. Is it really fake? I didn't read it wrong, did I? Sword fighting beasts, fossils, as well as emperors and heroes, these decks are just enough. I can still understand how to use them as initial decks. After all, the strength is there, and when playing cards, it's not an absolute advantage. Even the dragon maids who are very attractive in OCG are not unacceptable. But what kind of ghosts are the wind-traveling bird and the true dragon? Are you sure these two are really the initial decks? Also, you specifically marked me with the characteristics of the Sword Emperor. Are you strongly recommending this deck to me? System. Why don't you just give me an invincible set of 12 Beasts Gundam? I can handle it. Looking at the card group information displayed on the system panel, YouZero felt a bit dumbfounded. Before this, when I saw the task prompt saying that I would give away an initial set of cards, YouZero's first reaction was that these cards would definitely not be mainstream cards that could be played, and then I had to find a way to get some cards that could be played. After all, from the conversation of passers-by, YouZero learned that it was now the time when the Duel City competition was about to open. Almost all the top fighters from around the world gathered in this city and eagerly awaited the official opening of the competition. At this point, the key card packs that can directly enhance personal strength have naturally become a precious item in short supply for duelers. The most important thing for duelists is money, and among them are some wealthy young masters and ladies who become duelists in pursuit of fame. Therefore, once some powerful rare cards appear, they will soon be obtained by these people through various means. In such an atmosphere, the card shops in Tomono City, which may have hidden rare cards, naturally experienced waves of sweeping. Due to the shortage of cards, various card bags have also been washed out by crazy people. Those unscrupulous merchants who follow the market demand and keep raising the price of card bags. Ah no. I mean those bosses who make a lot of money are naturally wearing bright smiles all day long, and their mouths are almost grinning behind their ears. Almost every dueler who goes to the card store to collect a free duel plate can intuitively feel the strong sense of happiness uploaded from the boss when you were just collecting the duel tray. YouZero noticed the notice sign hanging in the card store saying, "Cards sold out, please come back tomorrow." If you can't buy a card, you naturally associate it with the possibility that the system will definitely issue you an initial deck of cards. However, what he didn't expect was that as soon as he came up, the system gave him a big treasure. Due to the fact that there can only be one deck to choose from initially, the choice at this time is extremely crucial for GameZero. After a few seconds of careful thinking and touching his chin, YouZero quickly made the decision to choose the terrifying Wind Traveling Bird deck. Don't be fooled by the fact that the monsters in this deck are all cute birds, penguins. When they really start playing cards, these guys will transform into bloodthirsty demons, becoming even more ferocious than one. In front of the intensity of the deck, the dragon maid, full of beautiful girls, could only temporarily stand aside. I am a man who wants to become a duel king, dueling women or something. It only affects my drawing speed. After selecting the deck, an option button for Collect Deck automatically appears behind the deck corresponding to the panel. And those decks that were not selected by GameZero now turn gray and cannot be selected. You need to use the diamonds obtained from the mission to redeem them in the corresponding fields of the system mall. Directly redeeming the entire deck requires a significant amount of diamonds. If you only want one or a few cards, you can go to the corresponding card pool, consume a certain amount of diamonds to draw cards, or purchase corresponding card packs. So, even if you choose the current Bird in the Wind deck, it does not mean that YouZero cannot use other cards. Even after YouZero's diamonds have accumulated a certain amount, he can still obtain the unfortunately missed Dragon Maid and True Dragon decks. In order to avoid various possible accidents and for someone to notice the unusual situation when claiming their card deck, Dueling did not rush to click the button on the system panel to claim it. Instead, he left the crowded main road and turned around to find a deserted alley. After confirming that there were no idle people following around, YouZero quickly called out the system panel and, at the fastest speed in his life, clicked the Claim button on the system panel. With a burst of white light flashing, a brand new deck appeared on the waist of YouZero out of thin air, just like when currency automatically appeared before, along with the external card pack. The movement of this light is indeed a bit loud, but fortunately, I cleverly found a deserted place in advance. I patted my chest, took out the obtained card set from the card bag at my waist, and spread it out in my hand to play with YouZero. While enjoying the hot cards excitedly, I couldn't help but show a joyful smile on my face, similar to the card store owner I had just met. I'm Joie. Traveling birds in the wind. With this invincible mainstream deck, am I not killing indiscriminately? Who else in today's world would be my opponent? Mudo Games. Haima Seat Man. Is it within the city? Ha. It's not me bragging too much. I just want to say, everyone here is spicy chicken. Jia 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 jia. I hereby declare that the champion of this Dueling City competition is already in someone's pocket. As for the title, just call me King of Zero. Unconsciously, a villainous and evil laughter erupted from his mouth, stuffing the hot new deck into the duel deck of YouZero, and a surge of unprecedented confidence surged in his heart. If the previous YouZero was still feeling trembling about the situation of being in a different world for the first time, so now he has a confident mindset that only a peerless strong person can have. Just now when I looked at the settlement screen on the taskbar, Dueling also saw the new task released by the system. The number marked with 3/3 means that this task will be the last step in the initial task tree. After completing this task, I believe the initial task will be completed, and there will be freely selectable main and branch lines available. Initial task, March 3rd. Randomly engage in a duel and win. Rewards: 1,000 diamonds, 100,000 yen, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. First Encounter of Gurus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. First encounter with gurus. With the help of the system, Dueling finally obtained the initial funds to sustain itself and did not tragically end up on the streets. After confirming the information of the card, I put away my deck of YouZero and wore a satisfied smile on my face. I left the alley and followed the guidance of the signboard to Central Park in Tomono City. As the largest and most convenient public place in the city, the Central Park during the day is naturally a place where people from the middle class and above can freely move around. And in the evening, it becomes a gathering place for those homeless street friends who have nowhere to go. Compared to dark and damp basements or sunless sewers, a park at night is undoubtedly a more suitable place for living, naturally attracting a large number of idle people to settle down. By the way, due to the influx of a large number of duelers into Tomono City, public resources are overloaded, and hotels and guesthouses in various places are raising prices. Therefore, those duelers who cannot afford the cost have spontaneously gathered in this park. At a glance, one can spot the presence of many young girls and boys wearing a duel tray on their arms. Since the beginning of YouZero, it has been precisely to complete the system's mission. To find a dueler to engage in a duel. As a traveler, the first thing I do when I come to the world of GameKing is to hit the city hard. Recalling the appearance of a flattened yellow-haired boy in his mind, YouZero instinctively began searching for traces of the city in the park. Kanzuya Castle, who was mocked by the Haima Seat people as a mortal bone and mediocre talent, was a good friend of the protagonist of the first generation of the GameKing. Muto Games. This guy doesn't have any other skills, he's just lucky enough to be called a gambling saint. Whenever encountering puzzles or throwing dice, he always manages to unexpectedly achieve almost the best results, shocking the onlookers. And he himself is also the kind of poor person who has no money and cannot afford to stay in hotels with rising prices. So when I thought of dueling here, I naturally arrived at the Central Park where street friends and duels gathered. That one over there. This seems to be. Hey, it's not right. As you were searching for traces within the city, a figure dressed in a black robe quietly walked out of the crowd and followed him step by step. Watching YouZero appear here, he slowly walked towards a deserted corner. The lips of the black-robed man hidden in the shadow immediately hooked his lips and smiled, then walked behind YouZero. After seeing no other figures around, the black-robed man immediately extended his arm and grabbed towards the location of YouZero. Hee hee, hee hee, hee hee. Another fat sheep has arrived. Hand over the rare cards to me. Have you finally arrived? The villain who is watching my card. Just as the black-robed man was reaching out his arm to take action, the light and teasing voice of YouZero suddenly echoed in his ear. The black-robed man who heard this sound instinctively sounded a dangerous warning in his heart. He instinctively put away his outstretched arm, and his body quickly took a few steps back. Tisk, did you notice that I was following you? Turning around, YouZero cast a skeptical expression, her whole body hidden in a mysterious black robe, and a voice of inquiry emanated from her mouth. While strolling around just now, the duel tray worn on Dueling's arm already revealed his identity as a dueler. At this special time, everyone wants to improve their strength as much as possible, and there are naturally some people with malicious intentions among them. Hey! I can't afford the card, can't I take it away? Little fat sheep who haven't experienced social abuse. Bring it to me, you. Some social scumbags who hold such thoughts will naturally choose to engage in such behavior. Do you really think that I didn't notice you were following me? With a mocking expression on his face, YouZero lifted his arm and looked at the black-robed man not far away. Although it was not his intention, after realizing that someone was following him, Yuling took the initiative to lead him to a secluded place without any disturbance. "Cut, have you been discovered? There's nothing we can do." The black-robed man, hiding in his shadowy eyes, flashed a fierce light. "Kid! Hand over your rare card obediently. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. What if I say no?" With a smile, YouZero spoke up to inquire about the outcome of the rebellion. "Humph. We, gurus, are not the kind of existence that an unknown person like you can afford to provoke." With a proud posture, the black-robed man arrogantly pointed to YouZero's location and said, "If you're sensible, just hand over the card obediently. Don't let me repeat it 3 times. Gurus. There is a slight impression in Yuling's mind about this name. If he remembers correctly, this seems to be a rare card theft group founded by Officialdom, the villain in the early stages of GameKing DM. The personnel standard in the organization is similar to the black-robed person in front of us, wearing a black cloak with a hat. Except for some officials, most of them were puppets controlled by Malik's 1,000-year tin wand, one of the 7 divine weapons. As his loyal subordinates, they were bestowed with blessings of 996 or even 007, squeezing their own labor day and night. Their purpose of action is to seize their rare cards from the duelers gathered here during the current duel tournament, and then resell them at a high price. In addition, the Guru's organization also has a side business of printing fake cards to disrupt the market. A well-known operation is that these guys copied a large number of sets from the Dark Mage, treated these fake cards as real cards to raise prices, and then solicited customers in their own black shops for high-priced sales, deceiving those who didn't know how to fight and spending a lot of money to make purchases. After the duelists who bought these cards realized the problem and learned that these fake cards could not be used in formal duels, the Guru's organization was already empty and left no trace. Some deceived duelists, even if they realize the problem and find their whereabouts before the disappearance of the Guru's organization, face a group of cultists who are glaring at the evil light, showing off their arm muscles and dual plates. Most people can only consider themselves unlucky and take this hidden loss. It was precisely through such and countless misdeeds that Malik accumulated a large amount of money in his hands. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The First Duel of YouZero. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The First Duel of YouZero is Gurus. The dark organization of that hunting card. Upon hearing the self-introduction of the black-robed man, I only intermittently watched some animations and gained a general understanding of the set GameZero. I began to search for information about this organization in my mind. If I remember correctly, the leader of the Guru's organization should be the young master of the tomb-guarding tribe in Egypt, Malik, and the purpose of this organization is to seize rare cards worldwide. Unexpectedly, when I first arrived in this world, I would be targeted by these guys. Perhaps this is also the effect of some kind of protagonist halo. Thinking about these things, YouZero looked up at the black-robed man. At the same time, he secretly took out his deck from the card bag at his waist and stuffed it into the duel tray on his arm. The current situation inevitably leads to a war. Being prepared in advance is always right. Oh. It seems that you know our organization quite well. After hearing the name Gurus, Yuling's face showed a sudden expression, and the tone of the black-robed man's voice couldn't help but become a bit proud. He, sure enough, the name of our Guru's organization is quite effective. As soon as he heard this name, the little ghost who was just a bit arrogant immediately changed his attitude. Haha. I know your background now. With a smile, YouZero cast a playful gaze towards the black-robed man. That's easy to say. Give me the rare card in your hand, and you can leave. With a smug hooking of his finger, the black-robed man responded in a playful tone, be more conscious, so that I don't have to do it myself, Grandpa. But I refuse. To the surprise of the black-robed man, YouZero directly refused his proposal. What I love to do with you is to say no to those self-righteous guys. And in the next moment, he saw the boy suddenly lift the duel tray and aim it in his direction. Nanny. Unexpectedly, this kid in front of me would even say a word of rejection when he heard the name of his organization. The black-robed man, who felt like he had been fooled, instinctively froze for a moment before a gloomy expression appeared on his face. Stinky kid. How dare you entertain me? Are you looking for death? Since you have this attitude, then don't blame me for taking action. Jia 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 jia. Let your blood come and save my lost face. Accompanied by a strange burst of laughter, the black-robed man who spoke like this immediately waved his hand and pulled out a bright dagger from behind him. No, I mean the duel tray, and I wore it on my arm. Well, it can only be said that it fits well with the setting of this world where playing cards is paramount. Come on, kid. The black-robed man holding the duel tray flashed a fierce expression in his eyes. I want you to know today why the flowers are so red. Ah, shameless guy, it's not certain who loses and who wins. After trimming his hair that was fluttering in the wind, Ling smiled and counterattacked, card hunter of gurus, let you become the first victim under my command. Duel. ×2, YouZero LP. 4000, black-robed man LP. 4000, with the shouting of the start of the duel plates of both sides unfolded simultaneously, becoming what many people remember. Although the appearance is somewhat rudimentary, without any connections, spiritual plaques or other post-era creations, there is no doubt that it is the cool appearance that duel plates should have. Bring this thing to play cards, and the fashion value will slowly rise. Attack me first. Quickly taking the lead in the duel, the black-robed man holding 5 initial cards swung his arm and drew a new card from the deck. My turn, draw. YouZero. Wipe. Forget that the world needs to use shouting to attack first. Watching the black-robed man take the initiative in the duel without speaking of martial arts, YouZero, who was once suppressed by various mainstream card decks and then taken away by the speed of light while playing cards, instinctively flashed a sense of unease in his heart. However, when he thought of the Duel City era, which was only the first generation of the GameKing, where the skilled axe king was chopping everywhere, instead of the chaotic OCG environment where the Lobster Legion was jumping in the air and mermaids were digging graves, his previously suspended heart naturally relaxed. Attack first, then attack first. Can you still give me a second in one round? Entering the main stage 1, I usually summon the Guarding Wing Dragon from my hand, Dragon Clan/win/4.star/attack. 1400/defense. 1400/. Each turn of GameKing can be roughly divided into several parts. Draw stage, preparation stage, main stage 1, battle stage, main stage 2, and ending stage. After the draw, if there are no special circumstances, it will generally automatically enter the main stage 1 used for unfolding. After the battle is over, it's time for the battle phase to command the summoned monsters to attack the opponent, thereby reducing their health. According to the rules of dueling, in general, just like only one regular summon per turn, each monster can only launch one attack per turn. As long as you reduce the opponent's health to 0, you can win the duel. As for the main stage 2, it is used to deal with the opponent's attack in the next round. And the ending stage, as the name suggests, is to end one's own turn and then hand over the initiative of the turn to the opponent. As the black-robed man slapped the card in his hand onto the deck of the duel deck, a blue flying dragon with a big mouth also appeared in front of him in the next moment, accompanied by light. Defending Winged Dragon, Attack Power. 1400, Description. The dragon guarding the mountain fortress dives from the sky to attack the enemy. Defending. The winged dragon guarding the city. Watching the big-eyed and adorable blue flying dragon appearing in the black-robed arena, YouZero opened her mouth and a pile of grievances suddenly surged in her heart. He had thought that the black-robed man would pull out an axe king with an attack power of 1700 and the turn would end. Unexpectedly, this brother didn't play according to the routine and ended up getting even worse, ha 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 ha. How are you doing? You're dumbfounded, right? Proud of himself, the black-robed man burst into laughter and said, "This is the powerful monster card that was used in the Dueling Kingdom in the wooden game. Our guru's organization printed a stack on the back. If it weren't for not being able to launch an attack in the first round, I would have let your kid know the strength of this monster now." Speaking shamelessly to YouZero, the black-robed man immediately lowered his arm and said, "The turn is over. End of this chapter." Chapter 6. Perfect Hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Perfect Hand. After summoning a guarding winged dragon, attack power. 1400, on the field, the black-robed man with a raised mouth and full of momentum skipped his main stage 2 and confidently ended his turn. In his view, although the little ghost in front of him could see through his tracking behavior, he had an intuition and insight that surpassed that of ordinary people. But in the duel, he is still a younger brother, and he can never be his opponent as a member of the guru's organization. Are you joking? The monster summoned by oneself is the card used in the game of Muto, which won the championship in the Duel Kingdom competition organized by the father of duel monsters, Bekas. Can anyone challenge such a powerful monster? A talkative kid, next I want you to know my prowess. Jia jia jia. Kid, you should struggle to your heart's content in your turn. When it's my turn for the next round, you should know how foolish your previous choice was. In the direction of YouZero, the black-robed man spoke proudly and uttered a sarcastic remark. Stupid. With the corners of his mouth curled up, Yu Ling heard the words of the black-robed man and sneered in response, "I think you are the foolish person, right? The winged dragon guarding the city is just a mortal bone monster with an attack power of 1400. What's there to be proud of? You wouldn't think that. With this card, you are the only one alive in the game of Muto, and you can steadily win this duel, right? I don't know, do I? You really don't think so, do you? Stinky. Stinky kid." It seemed that Yuling had exposed his inner thoughts, and the black-robed man whose inner play had been exposed immediately blushed. He, whose body began to tremble due to shame, looked at YouZero's expression and became even more unkind at this moment. Humph. I want to see what kind of monster you can pull out, shameless kid. Holding his arms, the black-robed man with a shy expression looked fiercely at YouZero's location, waiting for his next move. He had already decided that no matter what kind of monster YouZero summoned, he would do everything he could to find an opportunity to humiliate him and save his lost face. Gurus, not to be humiliated. At least the kid in front of me doesn't have such qualifications. Ha! Then you have to keep your eyes wide open and keep an eye on me. Place your palm above the deck of the duel deck, feeling the trendy bonus brought by the duel deck, and imagine the possible appearance of YouZero in your mind. Your eyes also start to become playful. This is the first battle for the debut of the Wind Traveling Bird deck, you must perform well. My turn, draw. Quick movements and handsome postures. Following the above advice, YouZero drew the card from the deck with an incredibly graceful posture. The drawn card drew a semi-circular arc in front of him, and then he added it to his hand. Oh ho! Perfect hand! Looking down at his hand, YouZero instinctively hooked the corner of his mouth. Windward Traveling Bird and Mystery Map, Windward Traveling Bird and Unknown Wind, Windward Traveling Bird X Mockingbird, Windward Traveling Bird and Dream Town, Whirlwind, Pot of Strong Desire and Humility. This is the detailed information of the 6 cards in Yuling's hand at this moment. It includes 3 types: monsters, magic, and traps, and has 2 or more precise initial points. Even if interrupted, it will not affect the unfolding. Not afraid of the proliferation of G, it is also a true, perfect letter. I summon Windward Traveling Bird X Mockingbird with an attack, ornithology/water/ 1-star/attack. 600/defense. 1200. With YouZero's movements, a card was individually captured by him on the deck of the Duel deck. Accompanied by a flash of monster summoning light, a petite and adorable English mockingbird appeared in front of the black-robed man, accompanied by a white migratory bird. Windward Traveling Bird X Mockingbird. The unheard card name echoed in the ears of the black-robed man, causing him to instinctively look towards the field of YouZero. A 1-star monster with an attack power of 600. Looking at the monster that appeared in front of him, the black-robed man instinctively froze for a moment, and then a mocking expression quickly appeared on his face. Ha ha ha. I thought you would summon what kind of monster? Is that all? When he heard this unfamiliar card name, his first reaction was shock and confusion, feeling that he might not have encountered some tough problem. But after seeing the real monster that appeared, his mentality underwent a revolutionary change. A bird with an attack power of less than 1000, relying solely on this monster, wants to confront my defending pterosaur. Are you teasing me? Don't worry, it's just the beginning. Noticing the expression on Black-Robe's face, with a hint of contempt mixed with mockery, YouZero gave a faint smile and continued, the effect of Wind Traveling Bird X Mockingbird is activated. When this card is successfully summoned, add a 4-star or less bird and beast monster to your deck. After that, you can summon one bird and beast monster. Flapping its wings, the mockingbird chirped, calling out to its companions from the deck of Dueling. Based on the effect of Windbird X Mockingbird, I added the same 1-star monster Windbird X Whitehead Eagle from the deck to my hand, and then summoned it as usual. The light representing the monster's summoning once again appeared on the field with YouZero's movements. The monster made its debut this time was a white-headed eagle soaring in the sky with its head and tail feathers showing as snow. White color, accompanied by another migratory bird brother. Nanny! How could you summon twice in one round? Watching the movements exhibited by YouZero, the black-robed man couldn't help but show a deep expression of surprise in his eyes. Compared to the adorable monsters summoned by YouZero, this reality of breaking rules makes him feel even more unacceptable in his heart. As is well known, under normal circumstances, a typical summoning can only be performed once at most in a turn. Either choose to summon a monster of 4 stars or less in your hand, or liberate the monster on the field as a sacrifice to summon its superior. The behavior of summoning a white-headed eagle after summoning a mockingbird like YouZero is simply unheard of. At least the black-robed man had never seen such a strange sight before. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Emperor Chi Gu, give him 2 slaps. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Emperor Chi Gu, give him 2 slaps. A monster with an attack power of 600 and an attack power of 800. After being stunned for a moment, the black-robed man with a "just this" expression on his face sneered at YouZero across from him. Wasn't it a waste of one more chance to summon another miscellaneous fish? Are you joking? Just these 2 miscellaneous fish with an attack power of less than 1000, are you trying to destroy my defending winged dragon with an attack power of 1400? Ha ha ha. Didn't I tell you not to rush? Rolling his white eyes towards the black-robed man, YouZero extended his arm and activated the effect of the monster on the field. Wind Traveling Bird X White-Headed Eagle, Bird and Beast Clan /Wind /1-star/attack. 800/defense. 1100/. In the event of a successful summoning of this card, add 1 7-star or above bird beast monster from the deck to your hand card. After that, you can summon one bird and beast monster. With the effect of the white-headed eagle, I searched for Windward Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise from the deck, and then freed the Windward Traveling Bird X Mockingbird and Windward Traveling Bird X White-Headed Eagle on the field as sacrifices, summoning them to higher levels. Come on! Emperor Enterprise brother! Accompanied by the shouting of YouZero, the Emperor Penguin from Antarctica appeared on YouZero's field with a friendly expression, swaying its body and waving around the 3 brothers of birds. This monster is the big brother in the wind-traveling bird deck of YouZero at this moment, the Emperor Penguin who dominates everything and refuses. Traveling bird with the Wind X Imperial Enterprise, Bird and Beast Clan /Win /10 stars /attack. 2700 defense. 1000 effect. This card can only be activated when its superior successfully summons it. Add one Windward Bird Magic Trap card from the deck to your hand. After that, you can summon one monster. As long as the card summoned by the superior exists in the monster area, the special summoned attacks on the opponent's field indicate that the monster cannot activate the effect. The damage calculation for this card in battle with the opponent's monster is once, except for one hand card before it can be activated. The attack and defense power of the opposing monster will have until the end of the turn. Attack. Attack power 2700. How could you summon such a powerful monster in just one turn? Watching Emperor Chiga appear, the black-robed man's face hidden under his hood suddenly showed an extremely shocked expression. If it were this monster, it would indeed be able to defeat the defending pterosaur. Realizing that he might have met a black-robed man from a fat sheep today, he instinctively licked his lips and showed an undisguised greed in his eyes. I know. Kid, this is your rare card, isn't it? Hee 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 hee. I must get it, Grandpa. Known as a legend, there are currently only 3 or 4 8-star dragon monsters in this world. The blue-eyed white dragon, with an attack power of 3000 points. And the penguin in front of me, which seems to be from Antarctica, has an attack power close to the legendary 2700 points. Just a little less than the legendary dragon with an attack power of 3000. This card, I'm going to order it. If I seize this card and present it to Lord Malik, wouldn't I be able to take off in place? Perhaps it could also be used to promote cadres and become a special presence like Pandora, who is particularly valued by Malik. At the moment of successful summoning, I activate the effect of Windward Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise. In the event that the higher level summoning of this card is successful, I can add a Windward Traveling Bird Magic and Trap card from the deck to my hand. After that, I can also summon a monster. While a rich inner drama is playing out in the heart of the black-robed man, the actions on Dueling's side still do not stop. Like the previous mockingbirds and bald eagles, the Emperor Chiga who appeared also has the ability to activate when summoned. The activation of the Windward Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise effect is linked, and I activate the effects of the excluded Windward Traveling Bird X Mockingbird and Windward Traveling Bird X White-Headed Eagle. Add these two excluded cards back to my hand. Based on the effect of Emperor Enterprise, I searched for the fast attack magic cards in the deck. Windward Bird and Travel Preparation, without summoning them. After leaving the field, ordinary monsters will be sent to their respective graveyards. However, the wind-traveling bird monster represented on the surface will be directly excluded when leaving the venue. When a bird and beast race monster is summoned on their own field, these excluded wind-traveling birds monsters will be able to activate effects and return to their hands from the exclusion zone. These effects can be used once per turn by each wind bird. If used well, it can even create an invincible chain combination that suppresses the opponent without any resistance. The birds look cute on the outside, but when it comes to hitting people, they are not ambiguous at all. By the way, since there is no exclusion zone on the duel board, you just used your pocket as an exclusion zone. Damn it! Did those monsters turn back? After experiencing a storytelling operation, the number of cards in YouZero's hand not only did not decrease, but also increased a few. The black-robed man's face not only flashed with a hint of doubt. However, the suspicion of this smile was soon overshadowed by the rewards that could potentially befall him, igniting an unprecedented fighting spirit in the black-robed man. Humph. So what if we turn back? But it's just some spicy chicken and little birds. Completely devoid of any combat power. I can give them a second with my backhand. Don't panic at all. It's a battle. Windward Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise, Attack, Defending Winged Dragon. Without choosing to activate the effect of Emperor Chi-Gu, YouZero directly commanded the monsters on the field and launched an attack on the monster of the black-robed man. The Emperor Penguin with a distinct black and white body, upon hearing the instructions from YouZero, swung its body and charged towards Guardian. In front of the city's pterosaur, he raised his hand and slapped the blue big-eyed cute dragon in front of him. Pop! Accompanied by this fatherly blow, the wide-mouthed winged dragon guarding the city suddenly turned into a golden dot of light in a subconscious mournful cry, erasing its mark from the field. Afterwards, Emperor Chi, who had solved the monster, walked to the black-robed man with his body swaying. Emperor Chi-Gu. Black-robed man. Staring silently at the man in the black robe, Emperor Chi smiled slightly, then slapped the man in the back and shoveled him to the ground with a bewildered expression. %UN #it. Black-robed man LP. 42,700, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Fusion Summoning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Fusion Summoning. Pop! Accompanied by a crisp slap in the face, the black-robed man who had just laughed loudly at Yu Ling and acted extremely arrogant was directly shoveled to the ground by Emperor Chi's big mouth. The damage is not high, but it is extremely insulting. Touching the hot and spicy face that Emperor Chiga had been deeply in love with, the black-robed man, who had come to his senses from his bewildered state, looked at YouZero with a hint of resentment in his eyes. Damn it! Even Lord Malik has never hit me like this. How dare you? How dare you harm my noble body? Leave such obvious marks on my handsome face. Unforgivable. Stinky kid, I'm going to ruin you. Due to the impact just now, the black-robed man's hood, which was originally used to cover the upper half of his face, was also lifted. Under the hood, there is a sinister face unique to villainous characters. At this moment, there is a very obvious red mark on the face that looks slightly swollen. It is obvious that the red mark is the mark left by the fatherly blow launched by Yu Ling, who commanded Emperor Chiga just now. Even though the duel board was initially planned with a certain degree of reduction in damage perception to prevent potential accidents. However, the attack of Emperor Chiga, with a high attack power of 2,700 points, even after being reduced, will still make the dueler extremely uncomfortable. I ambushed a card and the turn ended. Cover a hand to the backcourt, and YouZero ends your turn directly. In his hand, there is both a field magic card called Windbird and Mystery Map, which can provide additional initial movement points, and a Pot of Desire and Humility, which can filter and draw. In this state, YouZero is fully capable of carrying out a new round of development. However, after some thought, he gave up on this idea. The opponent is just a small henchman of the Gurus, and there is no need to show his backing to him. Just Emperor Chi-Gu is enough for him to feel good. As a qualified dueler, it is important to learn to leave some leeway for oneself in case of any unexpected situations that may arise. Stinky kid. I can't spare you. With feelings of humiliation swirling in his heart, the black-robed man with a burning pain on his face angrily placed his palm above the deck, then waved his arm and suddenly drew a card. My turn, draw. Is this card? Looking at the card he had just drawn, the black-robed man's face suddenly showed a look of ecstasy. Jia. You're done. Oh. With a raised eyebrow, he reached out to help the glasses that did not exist on the bridge of his nose, and YouZero looked curious as he waited for the black-robed man to proceed. Seeing my Emperor Chi brother, you can still say things like this. It seems that this guy still has something else, right? Ha 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 or. Watch it. I will activate the magic card Resurrection of the Dead from my hand. Based on the effect of this card, I will resurrect the guarding winged dragon that was just destroyed and sent to the cemetery to my field. Accompanied by a dazzling white light, the blue flying dragon, which was slapped and sent to the underworld by Emperor Chiga in the previous round, once again flapped its wings and howled before appearing on the field of the black-robed man. A cheerful burst of laughter erupted from his mouth, and the movements in the black-robed man's hands continued unabated. He continued to wave his arm, inserting the card he had previously drawn into the back area of the duel tray and launching it. Next, I will launch the magic card, Fusion. Fusion. Jia 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 jia. I will send the guarding winged dragon on the field and the fairy dragon in my hand as fusion materials to the cemetery for fusion summoning. In the vortex of fusion, the two monsters will merge into one and become a brand new existence. As he muttered these words, the black-robed man's hands and palms crossed in front of him. And he himself also put on a prayer-like posture at this moment. Fusion summon, come out. Emperor Dragon, Dragon Clan /light /7 stars /attack. 2300 defense. 2000. In the shouting of the black-robed man, a vortex representing fusion absorbed the two monsters. Afterwards, a golden dragon with two monster-like features emerged from the vortex, waving its wings and quietly suspended above the head of the black-robed man. This 7-star monster, which is a fusion of two monsters, has an attack power of 2300 points. It's not over yet. I target Emperor Dragon and activate the equipment magic card in my hand to magnify. Based on the effect of this card, when my health is lower than the opponent's, the attack power of the equipment monster will become twice the original attack power. Attack power of Emperor Dragon. 2300-4600. With the blessing of equipment magic cards, a purple ripple appeared on the surface of the body of Emperor Dragon. And its body size also slowly expanded, becoming twice its original size. Jia 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 jia. Thanks to your slap just now, my monster can have a super high attack power of up to 4600 points. I also want to thank you for that. With the 5-for-1 operation, the black-robed man successfully pulled out a powerful monster with an attack power exceeding 4000 points. Looking at the huge flying dragon floating above his head, the black-robed man couldn't contain his excitement anymore, and then reached out to point at YouZero across from him. His face also showed a mixture of hatred and anger. Damn it, kid. Now. It's my turn to respond to your attack just now. Emperor Dragon, ah. Eliminate that damn fat penguin. YouZero. Watching the black-robed man with a wild expression on his face, YouZero did not react at all, and did not even open the backcourt block when he unfolded. He just looked at him like this, watching the black-robed man point in his direction, commanding the monsters on his field to launch an attack on Emperor Chiga on his field. Until the massive Emperor Dragon waved its wings, carrying the anger in its black robe, and charged straight towards the despicable wind-traveling bird Emperor Enterprise, YouZero lifted his arm and calmly activated the monster's effect. At the moment you attacked, the effect of wind-traveling bird Emperor Enterprise was activated. The damage calculation for this card in battle with the opponent's monster is once, except for one hand card before it can be activated. The opponent's monster's attack and defense power will only become half the value at the end of the turn. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Flexible Moral Bottom Line of Duels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The flexible moral bottom line of duels. With the ultimate 5-in-1 king operation, the black-robed man successfully pulled out a fusion monster with an attack power of up to 2300 points. The Emperor Dragon. Moreover, with the effect of equipping the magic card, Massification, the black-robed man's 2700 health points at this moment are lower than the 4000 health points in the zero full state, so the monster's attack power has also skyrocketed to an extremely terrifying 4600 points. At this moment, the Emperor Dragon remained calm even when facing one of the three divine cards, the giant divine weapon of Obelisk Blue, attack power. 4000, Jia 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 Jia. Emperor Dragon, ah. Eliminate that damn fat penguin. A look of pleasure and cruelty appeared on his face, and the black-robed man waved his hand fiercely, causing his monster to launch an attack in the direction of YouZero. However, just as the black-robed man had a proud expression on his face, hoping that his monster could defeat YouZero and give this arrogant boy a profound lesson. However, Dueling calmly raised her arm and activated the effect of Emperor Chi-Gu. At the moment you attack, the effect of Windward Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise is activated. This card calculates damage once when fighting against the opponent's monster, except for one hand card before it can be activated. The opponent's monster's attack and defense power become half the value at the end of the turn. Attack power of Emperor Dragon. 4600-2300. Nanny. With the wind-traveling bird X white-headed eagle in his hand as a cost exception, stuffed into his pocket, Emperor Chiga lifted his fin-like limbs again under the shocked gaze of the black-robed man, enveloped in the cold wind of Antarctica, and slapped the huge flying dragon rushing towards it to the ground. In a dazed state on the face of the slapped flying dragon, Emperor Chi immediately slapped it again, completely shattering it into golden dots of light. Stealing chickens does not turn out to erode rice, and the black-robed man, whose monster was destroyed, simultaneously suffered 400 combat damage. Black-robed man LP. 2700-2300. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I doubled invincibly, Emperor Dragon. I lost to a penguin. How could this be? The unbelievable reality lay before the black-robed man, causing him to instinctively widen his eyes and grit his teeth. Due to excessive surprise, his chin even fell to the ground for a moment, making a loud bang. A flying dragon with an attack power of 4,600 cannot defeat a penguin from Antarctica. I can't accept it. The black-robed man, roaring inwardly, suddenly fell into a state of mental breakdown. Hey, if your turn is over, then it's my turn. The black-robed man, who saw the monster being destroyed, went crazy on his own and showed a severely damaged appearance. You raised an eyebrow and immediately forced the end of his turn, taking the initiative in your own hands. Anyway, the black-robed man just played all his cards in that round of operations. He cannot have the ability to counterattack or perform any unnecessary operations now. Since that's the case, the next thing to do is quite simple. Entering the battle phase, I will launch a direct attack on you with Wind-Traveling Bird X Imperial Enterprise. Add the drawn card to your hand without further expansion. YouZero waves your hand and enters your own battle phase, giving instructions to attack the monster. This time, there are no monsters taking the damage on behalf of the black-robed man. He, who has nothing above the field, will receive the most direct care from Emperor Chi-Gu. Shaking his body, he walked up to the black-robed man, and Emperor Chi lifted his fin-like limbs, giving him a big mouth. Pop. Accompanied by a crisp slap, the body of the black-robed man spun rapidly in place like a spinning top. After turning several times, the black-robed man, awakened by the burning pain on his face, looked at his reduced health and immediately fell to the ground, vomiting blood. He fell into a coma. I don't know if it was beaten, or if it was angered by the slapping operation of YouZero, black-robed man LP. 2300 winner. YouZero. Ding. Initial task, 3/3. Randomly engage in a duel and win. Completed, reward. 1,000 diamonds and 1,000,000 yen have been received. Please check your account carefully. Oh. It seems that the system's reward has been received. With the sound of system prompts ringing in his mind, YouZero instantly felt his wallet bulging. Reaching inside to touch, after seeing the 10 Fukuzawa Yuki-chi, 10,000 yen, lying quietly in his pocket, Yu Lingdang nodded with satisfaction, even though the corner of his mouth was raised. So next, it's time for the popular licking session. Those who snatch people always snatch them, I believe. You have already become aware of it. After confirming the income was received, YouZero went to the side of the black-robed man and plundered his own spoils from him. The situation is different from the protagonists who, after defeating the villain, allow the villain to leave with a righteous expression. With a flexible moral bottom line, YouZero's first reaction after the duel was to rush to the side of the black-robed man to lick his bag when he saw no one around. He does not intend to be lenient towards villainous characters like the black-robed man who exert malicious intent for no reason. Are you joking? Do you think it's over if you lose? Is it true that there is no need to pay any cost? Since you plan to steal someone else's belongings, you also need to have the awareness of being robbed. Your thing is mine is still mine. YouZero, who transformed into a fat tiger from another world, rudely punished the black-robed man with justice. Although it may not take the opportunity of his coma to take his dog's life, it will definitely not make him feel good. The black robe that the man in the black robe used to conceal his identity, the decks and backup decks he used, the cards he snatched from others, as well as the specially made fake cards produced in large quantities by the Gurus organization, tens of thousands of yen in cash and mobile phones, and a mess of watch chains and incense cigarettes, and most importantly, puzzle card fragments are necessary as a pass for the Duel City competition. These things that YouZero may need in the future, to a greater or lesser extent, were all searched by him at this moment from the black-robed man who had fainted. When Yuling left from here wearing a cloak of a black-robed man, concealing his figure, on the cold ground, only the figure of a naked man who had been stripped to the ground with only his big shorts and was unconscious. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. This will be transformed into a duel city. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. This will be transformed into a duel city. The situation that occurred on the side of the black-robed man, the man standing behind him. Malik, can more or less be known through the power of one of the Millennium artifacts, the Millennium Tin Wand. Located in a dark space far away from Tomono City, Malik, surrounded by his henchmen in black robes, sat upright on the Grand Tutor's chair and saw the next movement of YouZero through the eyes pattern that appeared on the black-robed man's forehead. After seeing the sweeping licking operation of YouZero after winning, his lips couldn't help but twitch. They have always been the only ones who grab other people's things, how could anyone else grab their share? I've really seen a ghost. The ruthless and cruel villain rarely showed a speechless expression. This guy. He looks more like a villain than himself. I remember the name, YouZero. The next goal is to go to Toshino City. When that happens, I'll come and personally meet you. Silently muttering the name of the dueler who had left his subordinates exhausted, Malik immediately closed his eyes and his figure returned to the darkness. After completing the task at hand, he will soon arrive in Tomono City. At that time I hope something interesting can happen. Yuling, who had defeated the black-robed man, left the dark area of the park with his loot, walked the path in a cloak, and returned to the bustling street. In the city of Tomono, where countless duelers gather, there are many duelers dressed in various bizarre outfits. There are countless people like Yuling who wear a black robe to cover up their identity. So along the way, YouZero did not attract much attention. Most people just instinctively looked at him with curiosity and quickly averted their gaze. The feeling of being a prostitute for free is really too comfortable. Walking on the brightly lit street, YouZero casually found a roadside restaurant and solved the problem of food and clothing with the money confiscated from the black-robed man. Afterwards, he strolled around casually, observing the surrounding scenery. After experiencing the duel with the black-robed man, YouZero can be considered to have a rough understanding of this world. In summary, this is a world where duels are paramount. As long as your card skills are excellent enough, you can make a living here, become a respected object of people, and become a noble, human being. Money, supplies, and even most of what you want to sustain your life can be obtained through duels. Disputes and contradictions between individuals can also be resolved through this method. As for what structure is duel? Why can this thing produce physical images, and why can images cause impact damage to humans? Why do opponents lean back and fall when monsters attack? Regarding these issues, don't ask, it's quantum mechanics. This is the truth of this world. After completing the initial 3 tasks, no new task reminders were sent on the system panel. YouZero is not sure if he was released by the system or if he is currently in a state of free movement and needs to wait for a specific condition to be triggered before the corresponding task can appear. Just as Yuling was strolling around in a cloak, the figure of the organizer of the competition, a man dressed in a white windbreaker, suddenly appeared on the screens of various buildings or display cabinets in shops, all over the street. Oh! It looks like President Jaime seems to be starting his speech. I seem to have arrived at the right time. If I hadn't come out to hang out just now and had found a hotel to lie down, I might not have been able to receive this important message. Fortunately, he patted his chest and showed an expression of interest on his face. You immediately stopped and looked up at the huge display screen on the nearby building. Compared to the televisions on both sides of the street, it is indeed the screens hanging on the buildings that appear more daring. Welcome to all the duelers. My name is Jaime Sita. I believe many have heard of my name. As the opening statement sounded, everyone's vision was immediately drawn to the figure of the seahorse setter. Standing on the other side of the screen, Jaime also calmly announced the opening notice of the Dueling City competition and some related rules about the competition to the duelers gathered here, including YouZero, who had heard the news. You summarized the explanation of the Jaime seat person roughly. The general content is, there are 2 conditions for duelers to participate in this competition. Prepare a deck of 40 cards, including rare cards. Own the next generation duel disc developed by Jaime Company. As long as these 2 conditions are met, one is eligible to participate in this competition. As for the deck, as long as the quantity reaches 40, there are no specific requirements, and you must prepare valuable cards. After all, everyone has a different definition of a rare card, and not everyone has a rare card that can make others envious. Perhaps, in the eyes of others, your seemingly rare card may appear worthless. The reason for requesting rare cards is mainly because in the rules of this game, the loser in the duel must give their most precious rare card to the winner from their own deck. That is to say, the so-called gambling card rules. The winner can take advantage of this competition to obtain the opponent's most precious card. And another requirement is that the duel tray used for dueling can also be obtained for free in shops of all sizes in Tomono City, with the identity of a dueler. Therefore, 99.9% of the duelers are eligible to participate. As for the puzzle card that YouZero seized from the black-robed man, Jaime did not provide a detailed explanation at this time. It seems that he is planning to explain later. That's all I have to say. In the coming period, the entire city of Tishino will become a duel city. Please prepare accordingly in advance. In a few days, Tomono City will officially become the battleground for the duelers. Raising his arm towards the camera and making his final concluding remarks with a cold expression on his face, Hayamas voluntarily cut off the communication on the screen. Upon hearing the words spoken from the population of Hayamas, the duelers, with their fanatical expressions on their faces, also began to enthusiastically discuss the relevant information in place. End of this chapter.